In this video, I'm going to talk to you about selling your own home and how to save a ton of money, and to tell you the truth about selling your home on your own or with a realtor. So why me? Why listen to me? My name is Hugh Thomas Lorch. I've sold over $100 million worth of residential real estate in my career. It's about a 20-year career, and I did even specialize in luxury homes the last few years. So let me first get into the realtor or the real estate community. So it's very dangerous to randomly choose a realtor, to call on an ad, choose a realtor, because they responded to you, or even being referred to somebody. There's the old 80-20 rule that 20% of the realtors do 80% of the business. So there's a good group of them that are very experienced and very good at what they do, and the rest are really inexperienced and part-time, et cetera, not good at what they do. So they only do two things that really matter. So if they told you the truth, it's two things that matter. And one is by putting your home in the MLS, and I'll talk about that in a second. And a very good realtor will guide you through the process. But again, if you are in a state where there's a title company that closes this and there's an attorney that closes this, you don't necessarily need to add a realtor to the transaction. And so let me get back to the MLS real quickly. If a realtor told you the truth, 70 to 80% of the homes sell by just putting the property in the MLS. And the reason for that is because there's a big buyer pool in there. So there's all sorts of agents that have buyers that go looking in there for something that fits, eventually makes an offer on a property and goes to contract. So that is the huge, by far the biggest reason. So all the marketing in the world, and I've done all the marketing in the world over the last 20 years, doesn't work. The numbers are astronomical. So open houses, online marketing, Facebook ads, it doesn't matter what it is. The numbers are astronomical. They're 100 to 1,000 to 100,000 to 1 that they'll actually buy your house. The reason that a realtor does all the marketing, if they told you the truth, is not in your best interest. It's actually, so like I said, it'll never, hardly ever sell. I've been on the front page of a magazine, doesn't sell that house. What they are getting from it is buyers for other properties. So that's good for them, not good for you. So what I'm getting to is that you can do this yourself, or you can put it in the MLS for a flat fee. Let me switch gears real quickly and cover what the process looks like. So there's 7 steps to the process. So number 1 is preparing your house. So obviously you want to prepare your house the best you can, get in the best shape you can. And the reason for that is that buyers look at something like, say, there's $1,000 worth of carpet that needs to be replaced in a room. They get dollar signs in their head, and they think it's worth $10,000. So you really want to have your house in the best shape you can. Pricing, it doesn't really, you can overprice it by a little bit, so you have a little room to negotiate, but grossly overpricing a house does nobody good. It'll just elongate the sale of your house, and make it way much more difficult. So be reasonable with your pricing. Marketing, I have about 8 strategies I can pass on to you. I'll tell you at the end of the video how you get them. I have about 8 strategies that are unique, and have cost you little or no money, have little or no competition. So that's what you want to do. You want to market your property in a unique way that is better than the normal process or the normal marketing that everybody else will talk about. Next, I want to talk about buyers and agents. So all I want to say about buyers is somebody brings you a reasonable offer, you can obviously counter it. But if they bring you a reasonable offer and don't ask for too much, seriously look at it and be reasonable. Agents, let me talk about if the agents solicit you and say they have a buyer, say they work the neighborhood incredibly much, say they can net you a lot of money for your house, so on and so forth. Personally, I would say shut them off really quickly, because if it's the truth that they have a buyer, you can just ask them for a one-party listing, have them bring their buyer by. If the deal works, then you guys put an offer and a contract together, and everything is great. Other than that, 90% of the time, they are just soliciting you for your listing. So I would suggest you shut them down pretty quickly. Next, let me talk about the offer and the contract. And I'm just going to go back to being reasonable. If somebody does make you a reasonable offer, take it or counter it, so on and so forth. And seriously, and the contract you can have somebody look at it, no doubt about it, whether that's whether again you're dealing with a title company or an attorney is helping you close this. transaction, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's a transaction process. So there's a process of the escrow and going into closing. So what I'm going to say about that is there's two things that are going to show up that you need to be prepared for. One, your house is going to get appraised. If somebody's borrowing money, which they will in 90% of the cases, or most of the cases, they're going to have to appraise the house. So they have to qualify for that loan. So your home needs to come in at the offer or the contract price. And so that just goes back to being reasonable in the first place on the pricing of your house. And the second thing is that a buyer probably will use an inspector. We'll send an inspector over to make sure the house is in good shape. And again, just be reasonable with, if they ask you for certain things that are reasonable, again, fix them. And be reasonable. And last but not least, probably the biggest thing is the actual closing and getting paid. And again, I don't know, each state has something different, but if you have the title company will be very good at closing the transaction, making sure nothing comes back to haunt you in the future. There will be closing costs. There will be probably 2% of closing costs, whether you're selling the house yourself or you're using a realtor. It doesn't matter. You're going to have closing costs. Be prepared for about 2% of closing costs. And again, if you have an attorney, they can obviously guide you through this process if your state requires an attorney. And last but not least, I just want to say I'm welcome, or you're welcome to reach out to me, and I'll walk you through everything I just talked about. And there will be many ways to reach me above and below this video. And I will either talk to you soon or I'll see you in another video.